and welcome back to Two Signal with Glenn and Robel.
Hello.
We have an interesting topic. It's a little bit hard to even describe, but we're talking about performative ideas.
Yeah, performative solutions.
Performative
to do
solutions.
with the performative society that we kind of witnessed. So we'll go into that.
Yeah, we'll go into that. Hope you stick around. Okay, Robel.
Hello.
How has your week been?
Pretty intense. Still in lockdown. I'm kind of getting sick of it now. So
Getting like I'm getting sick of you. I'm yeah.
Ghost, likewise.
But more than that, like it's been such a difficult week. I've been glued to my screen, just watching what's going on in Afghanistan, and
been pretty intense.
My head, I'm still trying to recover from the dizziness of it all. Like what is happening, and it's just and in Haiti, like natural disaster, and you just feel like what is happening in the world. You feel the hopelessness. You feel
Haiti,
the
especially because I think their president was recently assassinated as well. His palace.
I didn't even know that. Oh my god. Okay.
So it's pretty intense. Haiti gets like a lot of mostly natural disasters, but I think maybe 2-3 weeks ago, the president, so they some group, militia group, went in the palace and just shot him dead. So which is
okay. I thought I was keeping up with the news, but apparently not. Yeah, so there's that. And then in Ethiopia, we have a civil war that's intensifying every day, and it's difficult to talk about. We haven't addressed it on this show because it's so sensitive, the nature of the politics. Because it's so tied up with the people, ethnicity and identity, and it's not easy to separate one from the other and talk about it.
To look at it objectively as
well. So it's a crazy world that we're living in, and all we can do is pray.
And hope.
And hope, And especially in Afghanistan, like watching those footages of people chasing down the plane, like, oh my God. It feels like all hope is lost and makes you feel helpless for them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. And, what we're talking about today sort of relates to what's going on with the world, because how you end up in these situations, like especially with wars and things like that, they come up with what they think is a solution for a problem, but then that solution ends up creating another problem, and it just, it has this chain reaction effect that just doesn't stop. And so in a way, when we say performative solutions, so for example, like in our time, some of the problems that make headline news these days, like racism, inequality, climate change, and things of that nature, these are complex problems that there is no simple solution. Definitely, and the solution is, it takes a lot. There's a lot of changes that need to be made to effectively solve the problem. But what we end up doing is we have pretty solutions, decorative solutions. For example, and this is going to be a very silly example, but let's say this table is broken. It's not steady. It's shaking a little bit. That means there's something wrong with the leg, right? It would be ideal if I go and replace the leg or something. But what we end up doing is, let's just paint it red. So now that it's red, it's covered, I'll just paint it over, make it look pretty, and it should do it. That's literally what I feel like we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's, especially like with things like racism. Last year, 2020, we saw people from different backgrounds go out protesting the killing of George Floyd, and it was a massive protest in the middle of a pandemic. And it showed you how people were in rage of what was going on, right? 21st century, Black people still being treated like that to their death. It makes you angry. And this is a huge problem that needs a real solution. And when we were preparing for this talk, I looked into it. What are some of the policies and changes that came about after this movement? And I was pretty disappointed. Do you want to take a guess at some of the solutions?
Look, to tell you the truth, I didn't really follow up on what they did in there because I know will be in nothing, so I didn't check.
You didn't even look.
Yeah.
Better not to. So I just did a simple, just a basic, not going into it too much, but there was a huge defunding of the police, almost every state, by millions of dollars. So they defunded the police, and this money was not invested on, African American schools or building up the community, because Black Lives Matter, right? That was a whole movement, and so where should it be? So they were not spending their monies on education or where the money is needed, but also other places like public housing, counseling, and other things, right? And some policies were passed that restricted the police from being able to use certain kind of forces, so nicer police, and what else? Things of that nature. But I was like, how does this change help the Black Lives Matter movement? How does this change Black people's life? And I was very puzzled by that, because I don't see any of that changing anything, other than just creating fearful policemen who are afraid of dealing, if they're confronting a Black person. Now they're worried they're going to be called racist. I'm not sticking on like police's side or anything, but the problem has not fixed, the solution has not fixed the problem. Yeah. How do you see it?
Well, the way I kind of see it is, especially with racism or discrimination of that nature, is the solutions tend to come from, or we recognize there's a problem, right? But the solutions tend to be non-solutions. So they sort of cover up the ugliness of whatever it is. So people don't want to look into it. So there's not, can you really define what the problem is, right? That's the second thing we have to look into. So the thing is, there's no clear definition of what the issue is when it comes to, say, for example, racism or discrimination. So there's no clear defined thing. So people that are concerned with, there's two types of people, right? So people that are concerned with the real consequence of it, and people that are concerned with the ugliness of it, right? So people that are real concerned with the issues or the problem that they're facing, what they tend to do is they tend to go into, not on the surface level problem, what you see, like police is pretty surface level, but if there is, they look into, say, graphs, that boring stuff. So they go into studying like empirical research, like what is going on, like is there racism, like to what level, is this systemic, to what level? So there's a real definition of what the issues are. But what we tend to get is in the media and from intellectuals and whatnot is that surface level answers. And the reason that we do get that is because there are a whole heap of people that are concerned with the ugliness of this thing. So what we're left with is a vacuum, right? So no one wants to hear that boring stuff because they really depict reality for what it is. Or they offer, or they try and look at the solution, and that's a bit boring, right? So what better to do is you want to look at the non-solution thing that's being sold. So if it's the police, so you extrapolate and say all police are racist. Now, what you got to realize is there's always trade-off with everything. So when you're saying defunding the police from the action of whatever those guys did, in most I guess we're talking about the American context here. So in most, say, African American communities where there is poor, there's a predominant call out of police to come out, right? Because it's violence and all those sort of things. So it's not to generalize, but that's the truth. But So now what's gonna happen, and what will happen is that these people, when they do go in there, so they're gonna look at everything from a standpoint of being attacked. So you've got politicians standing in the middle of podium saying how police are wrong. So there's no one really standing up for the police. So what they tend to do is they tend to want to not service those particular areas because they are hard or they may get prosecuted for it. So that's sort of what I see it as.
You know, even like when it comes to the politicians, you know, and this is, you know, we're talking about American politics in America because this, you know, that's where the problem sort of comes from. Not to say there is no problem here, but it's not on the scale as it is, or it's not, I guess it's dominant, exaggerated over there or something.
Yeah.
You know, you see a lot of politicians every 4 years, the promises they make for the African American community, they'll be telling them they're going to improve their education system, more opportunities of employment, criminal reform, and all these sort of things that they think they will care about, and they do care about those things because those things change lives, right? But what ends up happening? So just recently in Oregon, the governor of Oregon, I think her name is Kate Brown. So they have been in lockdown 2020 for a period of time. So I can understand to a level that they had difficulties. Students not attending classes, not turning up online, and things like that. So they fall behind in their education.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to exam time for year 12, most of them were not able to make it, or according to her, don't test well. So she got rid of the proficiency standard for high school diploma because all of them were going to fail. And these kids that she called don't test well are like Latinos, Latina, Indigenous, Blacks, all those kids.
Minorities, basically.
Minorities. So I would assume like under the umbrella of equality, or she's probably scared that if she fails all the kids that she's going to be called a racist, or she's just lazy, don't want the cost of all these kids repeating a class and don't want to educate them. So even though they have not been able to prove that they can read, write, and do standard maths to pass high school, she's just going to remove the standard, just pass through, here's your diploma, pretty much saying go and fail. How are these kids going to be able to compete in the real world? And where are the Black Lives Matter movement people when it comes to this? Because this is what you need to be protesting. The fact that these kids are going to pass high school, and then even if they make it to college is going to get hard because they can't even pass high school basic standard. In college, they will struggle, right? If they drop out, then they go in to pick up some labor jobs, and just to be able to maintain a simple lifestyle in America, it's pretty hard. So they may pick up a job here and there, 2 jobs, right? And then one day, you know, they want to have like a breakthrough and simple cash, you know, cash in hand, whatever, things like that. They might get into little, you know, drug dealing here and there. That's how you end up. And then one day they be driving down the streets and the police stops them. They're freaking out. The police is freaking out. And you have another situation of George Floyd. And then we go out protesting. Do you see how it has like a chain reaction? This is where we should be protesting when this kind of thing pass. Like education, when you lower the standard. That is bigotry, right? Low expectation. But no, we wait until the end to go on protest. The changes need to be happening in the schools, but that's not where nobody's making any noise. Nobody even knows about this thing.
Yeah.
Only when somebody dies. Like, should we be waiting till this person dies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, like with these sort of things, it's not as if I don't put negative intention towards it. I more or less see it as they do come from a positive intention, because the time that we live in now, everything is based on equality. Everybody, like, whether it's equality in terms of performance or anything like that, so everybody has to be on the same level is what we've deemed everybody should be. And the reason is because that is the cultural context that we live in now. Whether or not you deserve it or don't deserve it doesn't matter anymore. So whether or not the performance matters or what level of degree of qualification that you need to be able to meet, or certain criteria that you need to be able to meet, because we don't have a specific standard. So what we've done is we've kind of dumbed down everything to a level where everybody can equally progress through, right? So, and it's more or less now, I remember that there was a situation, might have been in the 60s, where blacks who were in the 74th percentile, which is a pretty high standard in terms of education, right? Who were in the 74th percentile were, for the sake of being equal, were put into with kids that were in the 94th, 95th percentile, right? So what happened was when these kids went there and they were competing with these guys, it's not that 74th percentile compared in the greater context, it's a huge performance in terms of their schoolwork, right? But because they were put in there for the sake of equality, these guys felt that they didn't belong or that they were stupid because they were competing with someone beyond who were at a different level, right? So what you've got is like for the sake of equality, like you're putting them in situations where they don't actually think it. So it's quite demoralizing.
Yeah, 100%.
For them. So in terms of, I don't believe in this Black Lives Matter activism. And the reason for that is it's been tried. I forget his name. Bundy, I think his name was. So it's, what they wanted to do was, for the sake of equality and for the sake of removing discrimination and all those sort of things, what they did was they promoted activists. So instead of putting any money, so money was given to activists to be able to make awareness and to rise up. What you have to realize is that activists have every bit of self-interest to perpetuate the problem, right? Never look for a solution, but always highlight the problem to make it bigger. Do you think Black Lives Matter wants a solution? No, they don't. They don't. You have to come to a realization, like, whoever's in charge of these policies and whatnot, they don't actually come and give you concrete solution or really highlight the actual problem or what is going on to the problems that we live in. So if it's racism, if it's, like I said to you before, if it's racism or if it's discrimination, we can take it into the environmental performative act, where we tend to let people know that we are actually doing something about this, right? So let's ban straws, right? So when we do that, what are we doing? It's like we're doing something about it. Like we change the goal from let's find a solution to what's the simplest, cost-effective way to resolve this issue, right? So that we say, okay, straws is the problem. But it's actually like, if you research what's going on, what happens in the sea, what is the percentage of straws that end up in the sea? Are they the dominant factors that contribute to pollution? No, they're not. But what we want is, we want focus on the lowest common denominator and say, this is the solution for us. So, and the problem is that we feel like something is being done for it, and it also misleads people not to look for any further solutions, right? So, or further thing to actually find. So it misleads us, and it makes us think that there is something actually being done about it.
Yeah.
So I think is a whole heap of everything is from a place of intellectuals who don't actually know anything in a specific domain, saying this should be the solution, and also that performative act on some solution that's not really resolving anything.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
And the other one is environmental friendly, like all this sustainability, that type of thing. Businesses are now starting to realize people care about these things, and so they have to keep up with the changes. The millennials care about these things, about where their money is being invested and where their clothes is being made and where their food is coming from.
Yeah.
So they know they need to keep up if they want to be in business, right? But they know that this is going to be a lot of structural changes to the business, and they have to change a lot of things that they're doing, which is going to be costly for them. So they try to find ways they can be participating in this change of sustainability without changing so much things, or without it being too costly for them. One of the businesses, the industry that cannot be sustainable, they like to what's called greenwash, is the fashion industry. The fashion industry, the whole business exists on not being sustainable. It's especially fast fashion like Zara, H&M, all those shops. That and they know that shirt is going to last you 3-4 washes, and then you have to go back to buy more. That's literally what their business depends on for you to keep going. It's not sustainable. That's the whole idea, right? But now that they are being called on it, they want to start saying, oh, look, our shirts are 100% cotton. We're paying our people in Bangladesh $1 an hour now, all these sort of things. But that's bullshit, and they get away with it because unfortunately, we have to wear clothes, I guess.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, what you have to realize is these companies, like I said to you, we've got two people. When there's a problem, there's two types of people, right? People that are concerned with the actual consequence, and people that are concerned with the ugliness. Majority of people are just concerned with the ugliness, so they want to feel like something is being done, right?
Yeah.
So if you feel like your pure concern is environmental, you wouldn't shop those places.
That's true.
Do you understand? You wouldn't shop those places, but because it's cost effective and somewhat fashionable, right, or in trend or whatever, you go and buy those things, right? So, but you also have guilt.
Yeah, so I'm a hypocrite.
Yes, you say that. So there is this thing. So what we want to do is, like, what people have done now is sort of what we want people to do is beautify problems for us.
Yeah.
So give us solutions, give us some things that make us feel like something is actually being done about it.
Yeah. You're part of the change.
Exactly. Like if you people that are concerned with racism, like we were talking about earlier, if your true concern was racism, like what is the degree of, like, historically, let's say historically, what are the reasons that lead to if there is a greater proportion of African American community with single parent, like what is the case for that? Or if there is a greater proportion of minorities that are incarcerated or in prison, why is that? But those things are behind a wall, right? Like, because they're behind a wall and they're very hard to resolve. So what's the best thing to do to resolve racism issues? Why don't we resolve casting black people in Hollywood? So that becomes a dominant narrative now. Like, who cares who's being casted? I understand that
representation.
I understand that there's a bit of that, but that's not the problem. The problem is not whether or not Chris Rock or Kevin Hart, who is, by the way, doing fine, is getting a casting role. Like, I don't think if you went and asked Kevin, like, are you experiencing racism? He is part of the 1% people. Like, we can't, like, which one is it? Which one is it? So we get these bullshit solutions, or I should call them non-solutions, that we want to keep going.
Yeah.
How long has it been? Like, how long are we going to go with racism talks? Like, how long we're going to go with the thing, like, without resolving anything?
Yeah.
Like Black Lives Matter, the Black Panther movement. Like, we've had so many movements.
Yeah, those are not changes.
Like,
they're not changes.
They're not changes.
Yeah.
We're simply painting things or covering up things in order to make us, like I said, like, beautify it.
Yeah.
To make it look like we've got some sort of solution for the actual issues. And the reason that we brought up this topic is everything is a performative act now. How work you are, how your even companies are trying to be work, how you're into the culture, how you feel empathy for the minority. But when we talk about income distribution, right, or inequality, the focus is always on how to distribute income, right, across what is the problem, how can we distribute income, how can we give people that are not wealthy money. So what we tend to treat people is tend to put poor people in a different class of people and the rich in a different class of humans. So, but the thing you have to realize is at some point, everybody was poor, right? So the problem is not about wealth distribution. Like, the problem is that should be highlighted for if someone is poor, is the problem that you need to resolve.
How do you mean everyone is poor at some point?
Oh, humanity at some point was poor, right? Like, we didn't all have God-given wealth when we were brought up, right? So there was a way for someone to acquire wealth, right? So we don't tend to focus on, what I'm trying to say is, we don't focus on how does someone go about gaining wealth? What are the prerequisite factors that lead to wealth, right? In Western culture, what matters? Is it in family, like a nucleus family? What proportion of that people that are educated that lead to people acquiring wealth? In what ways do they acquire wealth? And what sort of things inhibit wealth gathering, right? So the issue is not whether how to distribute it. If you're poor, you're not a plant. Like everybody, like say you work at McDonald's, right? Say McDonald's, they've got 100% turnover, right? They pay you the lowest wage, right? So it's not you're not gonna be there flipping burgers forever.
Yeah.
So if you look at wealth on a ladder, like you getting that role at Macca's is you're getting your first step on the ladder, right? So we have to think that wealth is about a ladder. Like the more you acquire wealth, so as most people like will go as they grow and get experience, the older you get, the more wealthier you tend to get. Because you can't say someone that's 50 and compare him to me, and look at our wealth. It can't be the same. You understand? Because he's got a whole heap of 20 years of experience ahead of me.
But what about some people who get lucky and have a technology that breaks through and millionaires at 20?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, so how do you create wealth? So if we need to talk about what is the prerequisite for wealth, right? Like what things need to happen? Is it business? Is it through business? Is it through capitalistic free market? What sort of things stops people from gathering wealth? Right? That's the thing that we need to focus on. Not let's all go and attack all the wealthy people because they've got the money. That's because that's not the issue. The thing is, majority of the time, the 1% people that are qualified as 1%. Majority of the people, they normally stay within that category within a year. Okay, about 13% of them stay for about 2 years because you spend the money at the end of the day. Like if someone sold, say, $1 billion business, he doesn't stay at that position for a while. The reason is he's going to either invest in a different company or it's going to get distributed somewhere. He'll buy a house, but at some point you're going to fall onto those either the 1% or the 10% category at some point. So you have to look at like what is the solution. It's not about the inequality of income, or we need to think about those kind of solutions, not on let's make everybody equal, let's make everything fair, let's get on the rich people, because what it is for politics, it makes it easier. For politicians, I should say, it makes it easier to attack because we all have that inherent belief that they got something because it's somehow mysterious or something like that.
Yeah. So like we just watched the Olympics. You know, all the qualified people make it to the Olympics, but you can only have one winner, right? Everybody starts on the same level. They all start equally. But you're gonna have one winner and then 2, 3, 4 in a row. So what we want is, if it's equality, then equality in opportunity, like in terms of early on education, being able to get the proper education that a kid, you know, that sets you up for a bright future. So if we focused on kids getting the best education they can, we can't guarantee where they're going to end up, because there will be inequality in how they're going to come up. One kid might be smarter than the other one, but it's if they both receive the same level of attention, the same level of education, the same level of, then it's up to them how they're going to end up, and there will be inequality in the end, but that's where equality should matter, not let's have everybody finish first.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think that's where the problem is. People want everybody to finish first.
Like it starts from home. Like it starts from home. Like what you were saying about attention. Actually, there was a study I remember a while back done on firstborns. So they said either on a 2 kids family or 4 kids family, majority of the time the firstborns tend to do better than the other ones. And they were trying to wonder, like, what is the reason why a firstborn tends to have some level of dominance over his brother or sister, or her brother or sister, whatever. So and the reason that they found is that it's because the firstborn gets the initial level of attention that no other kid gets after that. Right?
True.
So because the firstborn gets all the attention, when the second comes, obviously he still gets the attention, but the second-born doesn't get the same attention. Obviously, we may not look at it this way. We like to think, obviously,
definitely
but
true.
Because when they were first born by themselves. So then the other thing that they found is the people that are in the study, the people that tend to beat the firstborns are only child. Okay, like if you're an only child, it tends to be that you are. You're able to beat the firstborns. So it's that level of attention that's given. It's that level of thing that's given that allows people to prosper. And we have to like get a pretty defined prerequisite. You and I have studied, and we can kind of say, look, we know what the prerequisites, what the things are to acquire wealth, right? But we can't hold society accountable for if I don't get it, if I'm just sitting down. Like there has to be some sort of agency and accountability on myself.
100%.
I can't inherit someone else's or my past traumas or my colours contribution and just say, hey, like it's my problem. Like I have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I think that thing where people focus on trying to solve a solution always comes down to that performance, like we're doing something. Like I always think about it, like Jesse Jackson and whatnot. So they're millionaires. Like the lawyer, the Jesse Jackson, who's always up when there is a black person in trouble, he's always up. Like he's a millionaire. There's a reason why he's a millionaire, and why he doesn't want this solution to be resolved.
He's milking it.
Like we have to look at the incentive system. Like these people that propose and like they may have intentionality, good intention, let's say. But at the end of the day, like they also have self-interest. Okay, they also have self-interest. We have to look at that and say, hey, like they haven't given us any solution at all. The talking heads on TV, on radio, that preach the moral righteousness and we need to do this, that, they're not the solution. They're not giving us solutions, right? So they're only giving us the veneer, the pretty looking solution, so that we can all feel good with doing something. Like I put my my plastic bottle in the bin, so I've done everything that I can for the environment.
Single-handedly saving the planet.
You know?
Yeah. So it's interesting what you said. I wanted to tell you an example as well. When I came to Australia, I went into year 8 straight after I did the 6 months of English course. And in Ethiopia, we study hard. You know, education, you are told education is everything and that your life depends on it. So we study hard in the night. We wake up like in the middle of the night to study and things like that. So I had that, I guess, practice. And I went to a public school. Shout out to Maryland's High. So like we didn't really care about school and stuff. But I as an individual cared about school. And I remember when we were in year 12, we had the worst year advisor. He pretty much gathered all of us and say, hey, like don't waste your time. Just apply for TAFE. Don't waste my time and your time.
To everyone.
He called out the smart ones and he goes, hey, you and you and you, apply uni. The rest of you, Granville TAFE. See you later. And we just all laughed. And then individually we all had to go and see him. But before that, there was a careers day where all the colleges came and we went out choosing. And I chose this college, international college, mainly international college, to study business. And I had their flyer and things like that. And I was excited to go see him because I wanted to talk to him about, you know, how I'm going to make it there. He literally laughed in my face and was like, you're not going to make it. Do me a favor. Please apply for TAFE. Like, you know, and have I been the kind of person that was defeated by that? That would have been it, you know. I'll be like, oh, crap.
Terrible teacher, by the way.
Right, a terrible teacher. But I was like, whatever, like I'll show you, you know. I was the kind of person that had the agency, like I always had high expectation of myself, and I'm willing to push myself. So no matter, you know, what was said, it wasn't gonna affect how I viewed myself. But has it been someone else who needed encouragement and they were discouraged? You know, it determines where they're gonna end up. So but this could have simply changed the way of like the course of my life. I did, of course, apply and I made it, thank God. But, you know, it's just, these are the places where you shape someone's future. These are the places where you make people believe that they can do anything. Not settle for less.
Look, I mean, I think at the end of the day, look, he's probably a terrible teacher, and he is. But like the example you gave about the Oregon in America with the school where they wanted to pass everyone.
That was probably
so. In that context, again, it comes from a good intention, right?
I honestly, I don't think so. You see it that way. I see it as laziness. if 100 kids repeat year 12, what would it mean for the school? They would have to, it costs them more to have hundreds of kids to repeat year 12. They simply don't have the budget for it.
I understand, but what I'm trying to say is there's a reason why those kids are not performing well, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily that they were provided a different education to the other kids, right? Like whoever's in the class are offered the same level of education. It's not like they restricted those minorities and said, hey, you're not learning. There's a reason why the kids weren't performing.
Yeah,
right? But it's because the context is we can't have people repeating. Could be for incentive wise as well, right? But what I'm trying to say is like hell was paved with good intentions, right? So whatever their intention was, I'm sure it's not to harm the kids, right? It's not to harm the kids. They think they're doing okay by getting them with their peace all together. They're doing okay. But like you said, it is a form of laziness. It is a form of negligence. It is a form of pressure that's on the schools and the industries and whatnot. That's being put pressure on them, where the focus is on, like right now, the minority, the inequality discussion. So had they not done that, then the focus would then be, hey, like, are you treating the minority kids differently? Is that why they're failing? So that's the question that's going to come now. Had she just said, okay, you guys repeat year 12, then they're going to look at the proportion of those minorities that failed and said, hey, like they're not teaching those minorities correctly. All the other kids went through, but these guys, they didn't. Either way, you can't win.
You can't win.
You can't win. So what I'm trying to say is, you have to look at the whole thing, like the whole education system.
And have you heard of the other one where they actually segregate? They have black classes and white classes because they don't want the black kids to feel left out. They want them to feel like they belong. So they actually created black classes and white classes.
What do you think that? Do you think they're trying to segregate people for it?
No. When the principal were asked, like, why are you doing this? She said, because she wants them to feel they belong, and she wants them to feel secure with the people that looks like them.
Like, this is the ridiculousness of like the Black Lives Matter movement and this activism movement and the focus on like racial diversity. It's like there's so much focus now. Everything is about like opposites, like how different you are, how different you are from these people. Therefore, we need to do something. Like the conversation, like politics is about that now, right? Like everything is polarized now. So yeah.
So to close off our conversation, how do you want to wrap it up?
Well, the way I want to wrap it up is we need to be able to get to a position where we start asking. Like we need to ask questions, and we need to be able to not take everything, any surface level solution that's given to us, because it beautifies the problem and it makes us feel like it gets rid of that ugliness of whatever situation that we're in, the reality of the thing, the consequences of the thing. Like we need to be able to investigate it, and if the investigation needs to be done, it needs to be done like with the real classification of a problem, like with stats and with like an actual study into the thing. But we never tend to do that. So everything now is sort of a distraction into even our politicians. The way they go about it is like they know the talking points. They know what they need to be. They need to be charismatic. They need to be presentable. Like those things are what matters now. The charisma, the how it's presented. I remember Ronald Reagan said, when he was president, like he said, politics is like show business. So like if politics is like show business, so you don't have to really care about actually being caring about issues, reflecting on issues, being honest. You just have to seem like that.
Like,
you know, you just have to seem as if you are the person that cares in that context. You know what I mean? Like, because he was in show business. Like he kind of seen from two places. Like it's the same thing. Is what he was trying to say. So I think we need to be able to stop and like look at all the distractions and like remove the distraction and actually look at the things that are misleading us, the bullshit non-solutions that they give us. We need to ask like the real questions.
Yeah, 100% agree. I agree with you as well. The problems of the world are too complex, and we can't expect the politicians and the activists to solve it for us. And again, like not being a hypocrite, right? And if we really care about equality, like when it comes to Black Lives Matter, what are we saying? Are we saying, hey, begging people, hey, look at me, I'm the same as you, please treat me the same as you would yourself because I'm like you? No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying, the way I view it is that, no, we're equal, like actually, we're the same. And if I see myself as the same that I am, then I treat myself the same, right? And not going through opportunities, not looking for some dodgy thing that I can scheme the government and, actually putting my heart and my soul to whatever it is that I'm doing and making sure I win. And if I lose fair and square, like accepted. It's not because I'm Black that I lost. It's because maybe it's just not for me. Someone is more smarter, more whatever than me. It is what it is. Take it at face value. Don't make everything like a racist thing, and don't get so caught up in that whole thing. And the solutions are not out there. The real solutions can only come from home, from the base, from the education and all.
Like we need to see, we need to be able to, like, I think there's a whole heap of reliance on people that seem educated in one field, and for them to point out a solution in a field, they don't actually have expertise in. So exactly. someone is a linguist will talk about race relations, or some politician would say, "Oh, we need to do X." Like, he doesn't know everything. We need to be able to like see like these people do not have the solution, nor are they the experts. Because because they're educated in one field does not mean like they know everything.
That's why I hate when celebrities tell you how to vote or who to vote for.
Yeah, like it's like have you seen what we've made it now? Like with I know we said we're going to wrap it up, but the way vaccination promotions are done for the young, right? So the White House and also us as well with Kyle Sunderland, where he rapped about taking vaccination, where they hired hipster TikTokers in America to go into the White House and do some videos. Those are the people that will convince the people that are anti-vaxxers who are on TikTok. That's like the ridiculousness of it is like they actually think we're like that. Like
such low expectations.
They literally have low expectations for us, and that really upsets me. That's so patronizing because it puts us onto some level of thing that we can be manipulated. Like everything now, like yes, like TV and social media is entertainment, but there are entertainment subject matters, but not everything has to be presented. Not every subject matter has to be entertainment. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to present everything as entertainment. Mm-hmm. And I remember, again, sorry, I'm being long-winded. There was a book called Guide to the Galaxy. So they had this president of the galaxy, right? So he was just there. He was narcissist. He was like charismatic. He was just out rude. And he's been the president for 7 years of the galaxy. And he's been voted. The way he dresses, the way he talks to women, and all those sort of things, right? Mm-hmm. So he's this thing that he's been presented out to the galaxy, and he's the president of the galaxy. And so the main focus is like he's in place in this situation where people talk about he's been voted the worst dressed president. Mm-hmm. And people talk about the antics that he goes through. And the reason that he's been put there is the people behind him who have the power have put this guy in power because it distracted everyone to focus on the antics and whatever things that he's doing, mm-hmm. so that the people can leave the people behind him who actually have the real power, mm-hmm. to do whatever they wanted. Mm-hmm. So the focus was on, was he the worst dressed? What did he say to the woman? Like this was written, I think, in the 70s or something. Like, it was made to be like a satire, like an exaggeration. But like, that was written as an exaggeration. Do you see the similarities now, though? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the way it's presented. So it's the way that they kind of treat the news. The news has become entertainment. Like, they say to you, "We'll see you tomorrow." That's the general thing that they say to you after showing you death and mayhem. They say to you, "We'll see you tomorrow." Like, the kind of stuff that you see should give you pretty much like many days of sleepless nights. But the way that they're presented, like the beautiful people, the beautiful setup, the beautiful music, kind of reassures us, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. You can join us tomorrow. But we never want to reflect on or think about what just happened. Like, this is just entertainment. Like, the pretty ads that come on, the pretty ladies, the little banters that they do between them makes it's okay. Like, we can focus on and move on. Yeah. So, again, sorry for being long-winded, but it just aggravates me.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks, guys, for being with us this week.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.